I am Zaire Hughes. I am counsel for the plaintiff Tyree Nichols family. Today I'm going to be proving the reasoning of prosecution towards the officers Haley, Bean, and Smith. On January 7th, Tyree Nichols, a 29-year-old black man, was fatally injured by 5 black police officers in Memphis, Tennessee. The officers were all members of the police department MPD Scorpion Unit. They pulled Nichols from his car before pepper spraying and tasering him. The 14th Amendment. Every person born in the U.S. is guaranteed equal protection under the law. This also was broken. In conclusion, the defendants, Officer Bean and Smith, should be charged with wrongful death of Tyree Nichols.
I am Paris Cato, counsel for the plaintiff Kiefer Edwards. He was a respectful tenant. He paid his rent on time. He never caused any trouble and even took care of his neighborhood stray animals. My client got evicted due to his landlord disappearing after years of collecting rent. He is currently houseless. Kiefer had tenant rights. I'm going to prove he had tenant rights. Here are some of his tenant rights that were breached. The law states that terminating a month-to-month tenancy, most states require a 30-day notice. My client never had a notice. For eviction, notice periods can range from 3 to 60 days depending on the state. He should have had the right to a fair trial. The 6th Amendment applies to my client, which guarantees the right to a speedy public trial, right to a lawyer. I am more than sure my client did not receive a lawyer. I believe the 14th Amendment, which states every person born in the U.S. is a citizen, promising equal protection under law, also applies to my client because he didn't get any justice. Shouldn't nobody have to be homeless because a shady cracker decided not to do their job? It hurts me because he was paying his rent, and as far as I know, there are no reasons why the landlord, quote-unquote, ghosted him. I strongly believe my client should get housing back with the first 5 months of utilities paid for. A payout from the company of $6,000. An apology card will also be mandatory.
My name is Kai T. I am a counsel for defendant Marcellus Williams. My client Marcellus Williams was convicted in 2001 of killing former newspaper reporter Felicia Gale. I am aimed to prove that Marcellus Williams was innocent. Mr. Williams spent 23 years of his life on death row. He was executed on September 24th, 2024 for 1998 killing that he consistently maintained he did not commit. There was DNA testing done that proved that he was not the source of the DNA left on the alleged weapon. Marcellus Williams was a good man. While he was incarcerated, he was studying Islamic teachings, acting as a spiritual leader for fellow Muslim inmates. He was also a poet. The 5th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution states that everybody has the right to due process in the law. I believe the 5th Amendment would apply to my client because my client didn't receive due process in his case. I also believe that the 14th Amendment, which states that every person born in the U.S. is a citizen and is guaranteed equal protection under the law. And I believe the 14th Amendment also applies because he did not get the equal protection under the law. They murdered my client for a crime he didn't commit, and his last words were, "All praise be to Allah in every situation." My justice for my client would be the end of the death penalty.
I am Avery Joel Butler, the counsel for the defendant, Marcellus Williams. I believe the 14th Amendment would apply to my client. The 14th Amendment guarantees that all people are treated equally under the law. The 14th Amendment would have granted Mr. Williams protection and he wouldn't have been wrongly executed. I believe the Eighth Amendment would apply to my client because it says cruel and unusual punishment. In conclusion, I hope the court finds that Marcellus Williams shouldn't have been executed.
I am Nigel, counsel for the plaintiff Kiefer Edwards. Kiefer was unlawfully evicted by his landlord for trespassing in his own home in Oakland, California. After living his home for 11 years, he was unlawfully evicted and had the cops called on him. He was then arrested for trespassing. Not only did he lose all of his stuff, but he also lost his place of residence, which he quoted he has evidence of as such as bills, mail, and emails to prove that he was living there. Right now, he is currently houseless, not homeless, because he has a home. My client Kiefer should be protected by the 2019 statewide law that is amended by SB 567. This amendment requires a landlord to have probable cause to terminate a tenant. This law also requires the landlord to give him 60 days to fully move out because he was staying there for over 12 months. Alright, and then it says, under SB 567 in California, landlords must provide a written notice to tenants, which can include a deadline to fix the problem or move out. No-fault evictions are prohibited by the California state, so landlords can't evict a tenant without cause. Kiefer was a good neighbor, a good man, and a wonderful tenant who paid the rent on time for years. I think my client should be offered an agreement to get his house back rent-free for 3 months.